Super Smash Bros. Is a platform fighter. But what would it mean to be a fighter platformer? Well, I don't actually have to answer that question because someone already did. Oh, but I am going to answer it though. This is just the beginning of the video.
This is Decline's Drops, a fighter platformer from a very nice developer named Marc, aka Draz. We're going to take a look at his game and learn all about how he did it. So if you're a Smash Bros fan, get in here. Okay, you've already seen Marc, but now it's time for him to properly introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Marc. I'm the main developer of Decline's Drops, which is my first game. And there's nothing much to say about it. I'm just a passionate video game creator. And French, of course.
There's a rich history of French animation out there. Movies like Fantastic Planet, The Triplets of Belleville, and Persepolis come to mind for me. Maybe that's why the movement looks so smooth in Decline's Drops. Believe it or not, it's the first time Marc has made such a thing.
When I started making the game, I found a video very, very interesting that's called 12 Principles of Animation, which talks about many principles that I believe the old Disney animators used to create, or at least they tried to elaborate on these principles, and they helped a lot.
I am thoroughly impressed by what Marc made here through self-teaching alone. He wasn't kidding about it being his first game either. This isn't just the first one he's done solo, it's the first one ever.
It is my first game. I never actually worked on any other game before, and as you said, I'm self-taught. I didn't know how to animate before, because the game is hand-drawn. All I knew was how to draw a bit, because I used to draw well for a long time, but animation was the first time for me as well for coding.
Consider me impressed. Now, what about this whole Super Smash Bros. Thing I promised at the top?
Yeah, about that. I should probably explain what Decline's Drops actually is, huh? It starts with a little puppet named Globule, who just loves taking care of her garden. Then a big nasty cloud known as the Decline shows up, and it drops 6 evil heads across the land. These heads form a corrupting hydra, which pollutes the world and transforms the land, plants, and animals into something unrecognizable. Globule doesn't accept this, so she puts on her boxing gloves and sets out to beat up that hydra. That's the setup. From there, we get a combat-heavy platforming adventure that I'll let Marc describe himself.
I usually describe it as a platform brawler. The main idea is just you play just like a Super Smash Bros. And you wander through handcrafted stages, just like a Mario or a Rayman or Donkey Kong.
We're gonna talk about those other inspirations in a moment. For now, let's focus on Smash Bros. For decades now, the platform fighting game has pit Nintendo mascots against each other, tossing in some additional third-party characters in later entries too. I'm sure I don't need to explain what Smash Bros. Is to any of you. It's not just an important part of gaming history, but an important part of Marc's childhood too.
I played the first Super Smash Bros. On the Nintendo 64 when I was young, and I really, really liked this game. The gameplay was really good, very satisfying, you know. The fact that you could attack in every direction. I'll be honest, I'm very bad usually for fighting games. You're in Tekken or Street Fighter, I'm bad at these games. But the system, the gameplay of Super Smash Bros. Is very intuitive.
I find the gameplay of Decline's Drops to be just as intuitive. There's a momentum to the combat that pairs so nicely with the platforming challenges. For example, I can use my dodge to eke out a few extra frames of airtime after double jumping, letting me reach slightly higher platforms. Likewise, I can unleash one of my specials as an easier way to activate these pendulums that are required to progress in this particular level. Combat itself consists of omnidirectional attacks, specials, jumps, and blocks. There are a ton of fights to be had, and oftentimes Globule finds herself locked inside combat rooms until every enemy is eliminated. That's when the combo meter really comes into play. There's a thrill in keeping it going throughout an entire fight, locking into that S-tier combo and letting the bad guys really have it. You can pull off great combos in the boss fights too, but we're actually gonna wait to talk about those later. For now, let me show you this tweet. 2 weeks before Decline's dropped, Marc revealed that King Dedede, Captain Falcon, and Donkey Kong were the main influences on Globule's moveset. You won't find her doing a lot of their specific moves though. This is all about speed.
At first, I wanted Globule to be very brutal. I wanted to make her a strong and slow character. However, because she is the only one character you can play for now, I couldn't keep that. So I had to make her a bit more faster and weaker for, balance purpose. The main inspiration was these strong characters. And then there is Captain Falcon, because I really like it. So I integrated his speed in the main strong elements she had in the first place.
Globule packs a real wallop when she punches, so the impact of Dedede and Donkey Kong is definitely still there. But at the same time, she's not invincible. There's a speed and grace to her movement that can also be broken.
We're done talking about Super Smash Bros. For the moment, but I'm sure you've noticed there's a lot of video left. Well, Smash isn't the only influence here.
So the main inspiration are from other video games, especially if I had to name them. There were Kirby's Adventure on the NES, Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze for excellent level design, and probably Shovel Knight, and lastly, Super Mario 3D World. In the end, they are quite modern games, but I believe they have very strong level design.
Let's focus on Marc's Mario comment first. Mario levels are chock full of fun platforming ideas, and new ones get introduced with practically every stage. Marc has done the same in Decline's Drops. Every stage feels different, with brand new or remixed versions of platforming and puzzle elements. Oh yeah, there are puzzles here too. Sometimes you have to knock around a loose seed until it finds a place to grow. Other times you get these sick fire punches that send you flying through laser barriers with the correct timing. My favorite recurring puzzle requires you to punch these arrow blocks, which fly in the direction of your attack until hitting a wall. Your job is to figure out how to direct the block to its final position, whether that creates a new platform or opens a locked door. Nintendo games in general are fond of this pattern, and I spoke about these evolving puzzle concepts in my Donkey Kong 94 video. DK not only inspired part of Globule's moveset, but it turns out his games also gave Marc a lot of level ideas. I know I can't look at these canon challenge rooms without thinking of Donkey Kong's flying barrels.
In the Mario games, there is a specific scheme they use. They take a simple concept and they elaborate on it throughout the entire stage, which is a very good concept. But I believe Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze goes even further in that concept. So it's very interesting. So I had to take what I found was the best in these games.
I've got to agree with Marc there. Donkey Kong Country, specifically Tropical Freeze, has some fabulously creative levels.
I really enjoyed Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. It has the strongest level designs maybe of all time, in my opinion. They're like roller coasters.
While we're talking Nintendo, we might as well mention the other games that played a part here. Smash Bros, Mario 3D World, and Tropical Freeze are pretty apparent, but there are two others that come to mind for me. I had to ask if there was any Wario Land DNA in Decline's Drops. Wario Land 4 in particular has beautiful Game Boy Advance animation that I find comparable to Marc's, and both protagonists do share a similar color palette.
That's funny you say that, because at the beginning of the development of Decline's Drops, the first idea was to make a Wario Land game, specifically a Wario Land 3.
So I was right to see some Wario Land in there. And there was one more mechanic that I had to ask about. One of Globule's coolest moves is this flying punch. If you sprint long enough, she'll start glowing, and you can press the punch button to jet forward, not stopping until you hit a wall, busting through metallic glove crates along the way. It's super cool, and super familiar. I was happily reminded of Metroid's Shine Spark.
It's a mix between this, the Wario Land in Wario Land 4. You have a Wario which can charge with blocks, and you also have Shantae, I believe, in the Pirate's Curse. She has an ability like that, and it's a mix between the three of them.
2 for 2 on Nintendo guesses. Go me.
I should have known Metroid was partially responsible for this idea. That's totally Zero Suit Samus in the shop. Anyway, this flying punch ties back into the puzzles too. Often, the challenge is in finding enough runway to actually unleash this flying punch, rocketing yourself across big gaps or through a wall that's hiding a collectible. Now, there's one more major influence on Decline's Drops that I want to talk about, but it's not another video game. You see, Marc also wanted to make a statement.
The game main idea is to talk about some of the main aspects I think are important in the current state of a modern Occidental society. I directly use them to create my game and to offer different environments. Because, in a platformer, you have the volcano stage, the mountain stage, the snow stage. I wanted to offer something different.
Decline's Drops opens with a dark cloud dropping some Hydra heads and polluting the land. So that something different that Marc wanted to offer is probably already clear. It's about being environmentally conscious. Rather than picking 6 different elements or platforming staples, he crafted 6 worlds that each share a specific message. That kicks off with World 1, known as Former Fields. Here, each level demonstrates the harm that humans have done to plant and animal life. Each subsequent world then introduces its own ideas.
For example, you have the second world, which talk about the pollution, especially the water pollution. So I took the oil spills and you use them as obstacles for global. So she has some places where she can swim and some places where she can't.
This second world, Petroleum Port, has one of the strongest messages in the whole game. From stage 1, you need to turn off the oil taps in order to proceed. This dangerous oil drips into the water from above, and it creates inky obstacles below the surface too. Ultimately, you'll have to face the source of this pollution, a tricky eel named Muter Peel. Right after that, the following world gets a little more abstract with its theme. Let's just say, watch out for the Wi-Fi.
Third world, which talked about connection and our relations between screens and your phones, smartphones, etc. The main thing was about waves and the way we are connected and our relation with internet. You have, for example, some kind of Wi-Fi box, and you punch it, it opens, it creates platform you can jump on.
At the end of this world, you'll have to face a dangerous dragon-shaped computer program called Omniscius. In case you haven't figured it out yet, each boss is one of the Hydra heads that the dark cloud dropped onto the world at the beginning of the game.
Each of the boss fights are from Hydras, so there are Hydra heads, and each Hydra represents a special theme in the game I wanted to talk about.
Now, if you know your Greek and Roman mythology, then you know the whole deal with the Hydra is that if you cut one head off, 2 more grow back in its place. It's a losing battle by design, and it's hard not to read into that once you know Marc intentionally baked an environmental message into Decline's Drops. I mean, the main collectibles in the game are these broken hearts of the world. The story begins with a Bible verse about futility. Each world has a bonus level called Vanitas. That's Latin for vanity, the sensation of emptiness or worthlessness. Are these shiny, snake-filled challenges the doomed future of Globule's planet? Is it the end result for us here on Earth?
Okay, let's reel it in there.
We're not gonna end this video on a downer. If anything, I take all of that vanity and pessimism as a challenge. We should be like Globule and fight the good fight. Yes, people have polluted the land, the water, and even our minds, but that's all the more reason to push back where we can. I've rallied for this cause before. Feel free to check out my Crow Country video for more on that topic. Instead, let me take a different angle on this conclusion. Clearly, I'm a fan of Decline's Drops. I think it's inspiring to see how Marc took his love of Super Smash Bros. And classic platformers, then blended them into what he calls a platform brawler. And of course, I respect the message he layered over the whole adventure. Furthermore, I admire the simplicity of his approach.
I wanted to keep things very simple. for the shapes of the character. If you take a look at the characters and the enemies, the objects, they all are very simple shapes, just circles, and barely you have lines, and that's it.
That's just in reference to animation, but there's a bigger application here. You can also use simple creation tools to craft a message that's important to you. It could be done in a million different ways, from game design to creative writing to music. In fact, throughout this whole video, you've been listening to the Declines Drops soundtrack, composed by ModalModule.
And I just want to thank him for everything he did. He really did a great work, and I hope Declines Drops will somehow help him create more tracks for other games.
And I am certain that Marc will find a way to fit his environmental message into his future projects as well.
I want to add new playable characters, new modes, new lots of things, to be precise, to be frank. And after that, I want to be able to continue making games, and I have another project in mind, and it's going to be quite different from Declines Drops.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. Let's close this thing out with a quick combo. 1. Declines Drops is a cool game you should check out. It takes its cues from Smash Bros. And big-name 2D platformers. 2. It contains a message of environmental consciousness that is not only well-baked into the level design and boss fights, but also resonates with us in the real world. 3. I hope by hearing Marc's development story, you can walk away from this video with some inspiration of your own.
Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what I'm doing here on Framework, please hit that subscribe button in the middle. It would help me out an awful lot if you do. And if you want to see what I've already cooked up, you can hit that link on the far left. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.